Let us now discuss about constructors in Java. We know that objects are created must be given initial values in Java. One of the ways to give initial values to an object is constructors. A constructor is a special kind of method that determines how an object is initialized when it is created. The common rules for creating a constructor would be the constructor name must be the same as its class name. So assume we have the class name as tester. This is a public class. So the constructor would also be public tester. Also remember that by default there is a constructor that is provided by the Java virtual machine. Also remember that constructor does not have any kind of return value. You can define the public or private, but you don't need to define the void or int or what it is returning. So all you need is a public and a tester, the class name itself. So the class name is tester, using the same thing as tester. So this has now become a tester. This is obviously same as a method. This is a method actually, but we are defining it with the same name of the class. So that is what makes it a constructor. So for testing purposes, this, let's take this is a constructor. So whenever we instantiate another object in a new program, we'll see that output. Let's compare. And we should only create a constructor when we actually require it for a specific purpose or giving an initial value to some object. Let's create an object of the tester class. Tester tr is equals to new. Remember that constructors are invoked by using the new keyword, new tester. We are creating an object of the tester class which is this. The object obviously has its own constructor. So this is what we are calling. This is the constructor we are trying to call. The same way this is a new constructor, and if you run this program, we'll see that the output is this is a constructor. This is what we get as its output. This means we have successfully created a constructor. As I've said, a constructor is nothing but a method with the same name as its class. There are two types of constructors in Java. One of them is the default constructor, which does not take any parameters, and the second one is parameterized constructor. An example for that would be, let's say for this, let's take a string name and an integer age. These are values that are within the class, so these can be used for elements that are within the class. Like the constructor can obviously use these values. So let's remove this. Let's say the name is. If we try this now, and if you run the program that has the tester object in it, we'll see that the name is null because we have defined nothing here. Now let's define the value for this name in the constructor. So let's say name is equals to John and age is equals to 23. Now if you run the program again from the application program, we'll see that the name is John. The value has been changed. Remember that the constructors can be commonly used for creating objects, mentioning it multiple times. So if we see here, we have written no code, we have only created an object of the tester class. And just by creating an object, we have already printed the name of the person John. So this is how constructors work. And in constructors, we should remember that we commonly use this keyword and the super keyword. This keyword mentions the constructor itself. So if you use this dot name is equals to name. This is commonly used when we are mentioning the name in the tester, in the constructor itself. Let's say string name, comma, int age. So we have defined this dot name is equals to name. And then we also need to do this dot age is equals to age. Here, what we're trying to do is we have the public values age and we have the parameterized values age. We're trying to equate them both, which means the age of the class is the same as the age that is given as a parameter. We're trying to make sure that there is no ambiguity in this, and these two are the same components in itself. So if you run the program now, let's check the program. We'll see an error, which is the constructor is undefined. That is because the constructor here, whenever we are creating a new constructor or a new object, we should remember that the constructor should follow the same format as is the constructor that has been mentioned in the class. If there is no constructor, it goes to a default constructor which is not parameterized. So this is what it is. But because we have mentioned some parameters, that is the string name and the int age, we should make sure that both of those values are present in this. So for the string, let's say James, and for age, let's say 24. Now, if we run this program, we'll see that the name is John is printed again. That is because we have instantiated the value name with James and the value age with 24. So this is what a parameterized constructor is. Remember that there are two types of constructors in Java, the default constructor and the parameterized constructor. The default constructor has no parameters, or even if we don't write a code for that constructor, it is present in Java program, in every Java program. But we should remember that a parameterized constructor should be instantiated with the same parameters that we are giving it to them in that program. So for this, we have given age. Let's also print the age itself and check if it is working. So if I say age and the semicolon, obviously, let's clear this out. And if you run the program now, we'll see that the name is John and the age is 23. This is because here we have assigned the value age 23. So we don't need to mention it again in the constructor itself. We can change it and use it in the application program by creating multiple constructors of the same class. So let's remove the age and let's remove the name. The name we have given here is James. So let's run the program now. We'll see that the name is James and the age is 24. And now the parameterized constructor tester we can use in multiple times. For example, let us create another person, tester tr2 is equals to new. Tester itself, the string. Let's give the name Smith. And let's give an age of what? 33, let's say. And the semicolon. Now if you run the program, we have two values of two different people. A man named James and a man named Smith. And their ages, that is 24 and 32. The common use for constructors would be, let's say, for example, if we create a class of a student, we can create multiple student objects by just using the same constructor. So a student has his name, age, and roll number. So we can create that multiple times and however times we like without actually writing a program for itself. This is what is the usage of constructors, and it helps in reducing the code that we do and helps in optimizing the code. It also makes it easier to understand and easier to code. This is what constructors in Java are. See you on the next one.